It's over. The gavel has dropped, and the news is exactly what no one wanted to hear just as the gates of spring training opened. Bowden Francis is out for 2026. It's not inflammation, it's not precautionary rest, it's Tommy John. Reconstructive elbow ligament surgery. And for anyone who thought 2025 had been rock bottom for him, reality just decided to dig a little deeper. We need to be brutally honest here at Jay's Fan Report. Remember that stretch run in 2024, that August and September when Francis looked like the rightful heir to Kevin Gausman, when he flirted with no hitters and we looked at his contract, looked at the way he commanded the strike zone, and thought, there it is, the Toronto Blue Jays found an elite rotation piece for a bargain. Yeah, that feeling died today. What we saw in 2025 was a ghost. That 6.05 ERA and 14 starts wasn't a slump. It wasn't the league adjusting. It was an arm screaming for help. First came the shoulder in June, the impingement that shut him down for the rest of the year. And now, on the first real day of work for 2026, the ulnar collateral ligament gives out. It's a bucket of ice water to the face for anyone who expected him to be our difference maker this season. And here's the detail nobody wants to confront head-on. The risk isn't just the talent, it's the time. Recovery from a surgery like this is at least 12 months. If everything goes perfectly, and we know perfect has been rare with the Jays' medical history lately, he's only throwing again in 2027. At 31 years old, the physical prime we expected to capitalize on? Gone. We're talking about a guy who was supposed to be a pillar of the rotation and now becomes a massive question mark on a 60-day IL that already feels endless. But wait, because while we're mourning Francis's arm, the front office made that classic plug-the-leak move via waivers. Ben Cowles, that's the name. Toronto went and claimed him from the Cubs after Chicago stopped waiting. Let's look at Ben Cowles without the cheap optimism filter. 26 years old, from Rochester, technically a neighbor, but his resume is a roadmap of uncertainty. Yankees, White Sox, Cubs, now Blue Jays. 4 organizations in, 5 years? That tells you how the league views his ceiling. He hit .235 in AAA last year, 9 home runs in 128 games. Those numbers don't jump off the page. They don't solve our lack of power in the lineup. There is one angle that explains why he's here. Cowles is the classic Swiss Army knife this management loves. Over 200 games at shortstop, 140 at second base, nearly 100 at third base. He's the cheap insurance policy. The problem is, do we need insurance policies or do we need starters who actually intimidate opponents? Because having a guy who plays everywhere but doesn't consistently hit anywhere is a recipe we've already seen fall apart in Toronto. The uncomfortable question hanging in the air is this: how much of our depth is real and how much is just statistical illusion? We lose a rotation starter for an entire year, and the immediate response is a 26-year-old infielder who bounced across 3 teams in a year and struggles to keep his average above .230 in the minors? Francis's situation is disastrous because of the timing. Spring training is supposed to be about optimism, about what if everything goes right. Instead, the first real piece of news we get is that one of the organization's most promising arms will spend the year watching from the stands with his arm in a sling. That puts enormous pressure on whoever's left. There's no more margin for error. If Gausman or Berríos feels even the slightest discomfort, the house of cards starts to sway dangerously. As for Cowles, some will say being from Rochester and having gone through the Yankee system gives him that AL East instinct, but the truth is he's a body filling the 40-man roster spot that opened when Francis moved to the 60-day IL. It's a bureaucratic transaction dressed up as reinforcement. We need to stop accepting the shallow narrative that depth is everything. Depth without quality is just volume. Ben Cowles is volume. Bowden Francis was quality, high ceiling, real upside, the hope of finding an out-of-nowhere all-star to save the payroll structure. Without him, the hole in the rotation is real, it's deep, and it's expensive. There's no point being polite right now. The fans heading to the Rogers Center want a team that competes, not a waiver wire experiment lab. Losing Francis throws the 2026 plan off balance before the first official pitch is even thrown. It's a heavy blow to our pitching structure, and so far the front office's response is an infielder the Cubs didn't even want to keep on the bench. What truly worries me is the silence about who's taking that rotation spot for good, because if the plan is wait and see, we already know how that story ends in July. The bill came due way too early this year. Francis out, Ben Cowles in. A swap of potential elite arm for a AAA utility player. That's today's reality. We'll keep tracking every move, but the confidence took a punch to the gut in the very first round. Let me know in the comments, do you still believe the rotation can hold without Francis, or is the Cowles move just the first sign that desperation for depth is knocking at the door? We'll talk in the next update.